this morning to the 88th Convention of the Georgia District Exchange Club for our child abuse breakfast, child abuse prevention breakfast. At this time, I would ask Virginia Fiegler, Secretary, the Exchange Club of Waycross, to come up and lead us in our invocation. You all stand, please.
Brothers and sisters, you did for me. That's Matthew 25:4. I can call it better if I can see it. And I find in the prayer of St. Francis, it pretty much says what we are trying to do here. If you pray the prayer of St. Francis with me, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. It is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
Now, the pledge of allegiance to the flag will be led by Gail Johnson, President of the Exchange Club of Crawford.
What do you How'd you go with my first secretary?
Can you hear me now? We're going to continue our program. And just continue to eat. Enjoy your breakfast. Rollin Middlebrooks is selling raffle tickets for a 32-inch flat screen TV, courtesy of the Exchange Club of Macon. So if you want those, we'll draw that tomorrow night to see Rollin Middlebrooks. Likewise, Debbie Lindsay, y'all see the quilt over here in the corner. Betty, with her labor of love, handcrafted that, and she has tickets to sell for that as well. So see Betty Lindsay. And we want to remind you of all our silent auction items out here. Go by and place your bid. And if you don't, I'll go by and write your name in. So be sure that you check out all the wonderful items we have out there. At this time, I'd ask you please make sure that your cell phone is on vibrate or turned off, so we won't have any interruptions.
Or there's a donation to the cancer.
Or there will be a good... Somebody found the body. Thank you, Alex. At this time, I'd like to introduce President of the Georgia Cap Foundation, Lisa Glisson, who will preside over our child abuse prevention program.
Thank you, Jack. Good morning. Good morning. That was pretty weak.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Much better. Much better. Welcome, and thank you for being here. I hope the ones of you that were at the dinner last night had a good time and enjoyed the festivities. I would like to thank our auctioneer, Tyron Spearman. Would you please stand? Thanks to your donation and his help, and of course your bids, we raised $1,715 last night for our very worthy cause to help prevent child abuse in the state of Georgia through our local centers. Thank you so much for your support. Also, yesterday afternoon was our golf tournament. As I call your team name, if you're here, please stand and remain standing. I know some of them left last night, but please hold your applause until they're all introduced. First, I'll introduce the teams and then the whole sponsors. The team from Albany, Griffin, Thomasville, and by the way, those were the 3 top place winners. Hapeville, Blackshear, Statesboro, Tifton, and Waynesboro. Those are our teams that played in the golf tournament yesterday. Now our whole sponsors: Hapeville, Phoenix City, Columbus, North Columbus, Statesboro, Valdosta, who sponsored 2 holes, Waycross in memory of Preston Sells, one of their young members who passed away this year from cancer, Kay Griffin in memory of Butch, and Beth and Bill Banks. Thank you, our whole sponsors. Right now, I'd like to introduce our board members. Board members, if you would please stand as I call your name, and please hold your applause until the entire board is introduced. Serving as our Vice President this year, Ann Cruz from Hapeville. Secretary Ginger Pickler from Waycross. Treasurer Rollin Middlebrooks from Macon. Our other board members, Dr. Bill Bailey, Gary Graves, Scott Drew, Betty Lindsay, Ted Noe, Ralph Costian, Barney Knighton, and our immediate past president, Marty Smith. Thank you so much for your time. The mission of the Georgia Exchange Foundation for the Prevention of Child Abuse is to assist the Georgia District Exchange Clubs with the startup of new child abuse prevention centers and help support the existing centers within the Georgia District. I'm sure we would be hard-pressed to find anybody in this room who hasn't seen a local news story or a local newspaper article within even the past 2 weeks in your community that was a case of either child abuse or child neglect. Unfortunately, we see this quite often even in our local paper in a town the size of 50,000. So I'm sure those of you in larger cities probably even have it more frequently, unfortunately. Our work is not done, still much work to be done. And we are so pleased to be able to continue our support of our 4 centers here in the state of Georgia. At this time, we would like to recognize those centers and award them with a check for $2,500 each. Thanks to your efforts last year with the golf tournament, the silent auction, memorials, the live auction we had last year, we're able to continue to do this. And more so than ever, I'm hearing from these center directors that this money is even more critical. Of course, their budgets are even tighter. They're losing grant money from year to year that they've had the year before. And it's really hard for them to make ends meet. So we hope, and wish it could be more, but we hope that this money makes it a little easier for you to meet your budget constraints. At this time, we'll recognize our first center from the Exchange Club of Rome. She is the president and also serves on the board for the Family Resource Center in Rome, Ms. Gail Johnson. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for this. I'm speaking on behalf of the center. As Lisa said, the centers are experiencing a lot of budget cuts, and our center actually I'm representing our center here today because the staff at our center are all back working in Rome furiously to prevent child abuse, and so we are without an executive director right now. I stood before you last year and said that we were without an executive director because our executive director had resigned to take another position with another organization. And we were searching, at that point we had an executive director search going actively. Since that time we have decided to suspend that search, and so we are working without an executive director, but the reason that we can do that is because we have the most phenomenal staff of 5 women that I can ever tell you about. And they are covering, probably better than we have ever covered before, the duties of executive director along with the duties of family services, marketing, administration, parent aid. I mean, they're doing it all, and they are doing a wonderful job in Rome. Unfortunately, there's a lot of child abuse, and Floyd County has a population of around 99,000. Last year in Floyd County, we had 1,661 cases reported to DFACS. Of that number, 215 cases were substantiated as either child abuse or neglect. And this is the one that breaks my heart. 4 of those cases resulted in deaths. One was a 2-year-old. And we had a balloon release on the first day of April this year. We put pinwheels out in a very prominent place where there's a very high traffic count, and we released 215 balloons. Of those 215 balloons, 211 of them were blue and 4 of them were black. And if you go to our website or go to our Facebook page, you will see a picture of that balloon release, and you will see 3 of those 4 balloons. That's a constant reminder to us that we've got a lot of work to be done. Floyd County has the highest number of children per capita in foster care in the entire state. As of March 31st of this year, there were 289 children in custody of Floyd County DFACS. We don't know whether that is because we have a very good reporting system or whether there is just that much more abuse. But those are the facts regardless. Our DFACS social services administrator identified in-home parenting and visitation services as being top priorities of services needed in Floyd County. And the Family Resource Center is the only agency left in Floyd County who does in-home parenting services. All of the other services have either been shut down, all the other agencies have either been shut down due to budget cuts or their totals have been cut to exclude that. The Social Services Administrator also identified that transportation, family counseling, substance abuse and mental health treatment, sobriety support, and sibling visitation were also needed. And the center provides transportation services and visitation services, and we've added sibling visitation to a proposal that we've made to of our PSSF grant in 2013-14, or 2013-14. So hopefully we'll be able to offer that as well. Of the other services that we don't offer, we have a very good network with other agencies who do, and we will work with our families to provide the services that they need. Last year, we served 32 agencies through supervised visitation, 32 families through supervised visitation, and we served 147 families in 2012 through our Parent Aid program. And hopefully we've applied for a PSSF grant again this year. We did have a cut in funding on that for the year that we're currently in, but we have applied for that for next year, and we will learn soon what our award will be there, and then that year will start over in October. We are very, very thankful at the center. We have a very involved board at the center, and we're very thankful for the support that we get from everyone in the Georgia district and also at National Exchange, as well as our local exchange club and local citizens of Floyd County. So we do thank you for this, and I hope you have a great convention. Thank you. Next, we will call to the podium Dr. Fonda Thompson, Executive Director of Open Arms Incorporated in Albany, Georgia.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am often asked if I like my job. And my response to that is, I would shout hallelujah if Open Arms did not have to exist within this community, because there is no child abuse. The reality of it is, there is abuse. There's abuse all across Southwest Georgia. And I'm grateful that Open Arms is within this community, because we are the only agency who house abused and runaway youth within this area. We have serviced a lot of children this year. And it's because of people like you who take the time to just care. Do you get to meet a lot of those children? No. But you have the heart of gold to say, I'm willing to help save a life. Open Arms has 5 different programs where we assist abused, runaway, and homeless youth. And this year alone, and I'm proud to say that we had 2 high school graduates this year, which is rare for the kids in our program. And they graduated on time. One of them was a homeless abuse situation, and she actually graduated from Westover High School, 10% of her class, and she's on her way to the University of Georgia. Those are the type of kids that you are helping within Southwest Georgia. And to our local exchange club, as you see in the orange shirts, y'all looking good this morning. They are such a blessing to our agency. We have several of their board members on our board, and they take really great care of Open Arms. So I say thank you to you guys. And to the district, Lisa is always such a blessing. She has the best spirit ever. And so we thank you for all that you do for Open Arms and all that you do for children in Georgia, in the state of Georgia. So thank you. And I want to say I appreciate the prayer, the devotion this morning. I love when I can come. People say they cannot pray on their job, but I love the fact when I can come into a building and we can all pray together. So thank you for a devotion this morning. Thank you, Exchange Club. God bless you.
serves as a board member and immediate past president for the Coastal Empire Cap Foundation in Savannah, Georgia.
Good morning, everyone. Indeed, it's good to stand before you this morning to thank you for this, to thank you for the interest in child abuse prevention. It's the best thing that's ever happened in my life other than getting married and being saved. Savannah, we had a problem at our Coastal Empire Fair back in October last year, November, 1st of November was the last Saturday night, where we had a gang fight out there, and there were 8 people wounded. And our child abuse prevention president, there was a lot of controversy, but he left the program. So currently we're without a president, but we will get one. We have, in March and May, we did our quick think-a-thon, and we probably had over 2,000 kids. We had 6 private schools, 21 public schools, second graders, most enthusiastic bunch of kids you could ever hope to meet and see in action around there. So we're getting out the word of safety. The abuse part, we are not there yet, but we are going to, I've talked with 2 or 3 already, getting trained, some counselors trained for the child, the counseling. We have Jenkins Boys Club in Savannah. A long time ago, we had a judge there in Savannah that started this club. We probably minister to over 1,000 kids on a daily basis at the Jenkins Boys Club. So what we don't do as far as maybe sexual abuse, we are ministering to kids in Savannah big time, because that place is filled with cars and kids and bicycles all the time. We have a swimming pool, we have outside playgrounds, we have gyms, we have pool tables, very many things in there that these kids can do that keep them from getting out on the street where they could do harm. So we're proud to be a part of the exchange. We're proud that we can hopefully in the next year start a counseling program where we can minister to those sexually abused, because my hope is, and I've talked with the people over at our Jenkins Boys Club, which is part of the exchange, all the members are exchange-ites, that we can have a counselor there to get these kids when they come in to do their playing activities, that if they are being abused, that we can minister to them there at the Jenkins Boys Club. So we'll continue that program, and we are just proud to be up here in Albany, or down here in Albany, I guess I should say, this year. So thank you very much.
And last, we have our new kid on the block this year. On January 19th of this year, the Satilla Advocacy Services in Waycross, Georgia, became affiliated with National Exchange Foundation, and we are so proud to welcome Ms. Zena Poncell this morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Good morning. Y'all been practicing that already. Again, my name is Zena Poncell, and I work for Satilla Advocacy Services out of Waycross. We started at 99 as a rape crisis center, and our numbers blew out the roof with the children. So now we have a child advocacy center. I am the child advocacy center coordinator as well as the prevention education coordinator. I'm also a trained forensic interviewer. I talk to children one-on-one for law enforcement and for DFACs on their abuse. I collect the factual data, so report with the victims, whatever we need. In fact, there's 3 forensic interviewers at Satilla Advocacy Services. We also have 2 SANE nurses, sexual assault nurse examiners, and we have a group of volunteer advocates that come in, and they assist us with community events, emergency room evidence collection. They assist the forensic nurse. Ms. Pigler is one of them. And I'm also a trained facilitator for Darkness to Light stewards and children. And one of our biggest issues in the past is the materials for this particular class where we teach adults child sex abuse prevention is materials cost. And as was mentioned earlier, the budget cuts across the state, across the nation, hit us as with everyone else, especially in the prevention mode a few years back. So I am thrilled to be a part of the Exchange Club and Waycross in national, appreciate everything state, to assist us in providing materials so we can actually go out and continue teaching adults about child sex abuse, to continue to ask them to review their policies, procedures within their organization to protect children, to continue teaching adult signs and symptoms of children, of child sex abuse. A few weeks ago, I cruised through the office, and usually I blow through a lot because I'm everywhere. My actual desk is at the police department because they turned my office into a forensic medical exam room for the kids at Satilla Advocacy, which we work real close with all the agencies in the area, and really in 5 counties. But anyway, I went through the office, and my supervisor asked me, or she told me, which was not a problem, this is what we do, and I love my job. She said, we have a 3-year-old we saw in the emergency room over the weekend, and he was black and blue from one end to the other. And I need you to do an extended forensic interview. He was 3 years old, so one interview probably wasn't going to cut it. We need to kind of break it down. So we brought him in, and he disclosed his abuse. Mother and stepfather currently are sitting in jail as we speak. He has wonderful family support from other family members. This child, like I said, he had injuries behind his ears. He had injuries in his private area. He had historical BB gun shots on his fingers. He said him and one of his family members were smoking cigarettes, only it wasn't cigarettes. He tested positive for marijuana in the emergency room. I cannot, our agency, everybody that works in the field of child abuse, I'm sure cannot thank you enough for everything the exchange clubs all the way across the world are doing to prevent this. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for our agency again, and like for everyone that is affiliated with child abuse, whether it be sexual abuse, physical abuse, or emotional abuse. Excuse me. Anyway, I'm used to teaching an hour-long class and asking if there's any questions, so are there any questions? Actually, Stewart's is a 3-hour class, but I'll do it. So, but thank you very much. We certainly appreciate it down in South Georgia. So, thank you.
At this time, Roland, if you would come to the front, I know there were 1 or 2 individuals that indicated they had donations to make this morning. So I'll ask Roland to come to the front of the podium. And if you have a donation to make this morning on behalf of your club, if you'll please step forward at this time.
On behalf of the Exchange Club of Valdosta, and in honor of our club president, Donnie Smith, and his wife, Laura, and their new little baby girl born today, 2 weeks ago. It is our pleasure to give to the Georgia District Foundation a check for $800.
On behalf of the club that's hard to see in southwest Georgia, on many occasions, it gives me great pleasure to present to you a check for $2,000 from the 17th annual Deputy Dog Cop Tournament in the Exchange Club of Albany.
Thank you so much for those donations. We will put it to good use. At this time, if you are on the board of any of these centers that received funds this morning, or on the staff of any of those centers, or work with them as a volunteer, would you please stand? Thank you so much. for all you do. At this time, I would like to invite Chuck Knight, past president of our host club, the Exchange Club of Albany, to the podium to introduce our keynote speaker.
It is my distinct pleasure to be able to introduce our keynote speaker this morning, Ms. Cassandra Wright. She is the director of the Lily Pad Sane Center and has been a nonprofit executive for 15 years. She began her career in nonprofit resource development and was an executive director of a 20-county counseling firm. Cassandra has a BS in psychology and human services. She's a trained juvenile mediator. She is a certified facilitator of child abuse prevention training and is scheduled to be certified as a forensic interviewer in September. Cassandra is married to her husband Fran and is the mother of 7 beautiful children. She tells me she swims every day, and now I know why. Cassandra has dedicated her life to advocacy. She is a dedicated advocate and devotes her energy to educating the community, law enforcement, and families on how to recognize and put appropriate steps in place to protect children from sexual abuse. Cassandra has served as a COSA, which is a court-appointed special advocate, for over 10 years, where she represents children who are in foster care and is the voice of the child during legal proceedings. The Lily Pad Center, Inc. is the rape crisis center for Dougherty County and the surrounding 32 counties, which covers 2 judicial circuits. On average, the Lily Pad serves between 300 to 400 children and women who are victims of sexual and/or physical abuse. Under the direction of Cassandra, the Lily Pad coordinates, develops, and implements the Dougherty County Child Abuse Protocol as well as the Sexual Assault Response Team protocols. Cassandra is scheduled to attend Mercer University in the fall, where she will work on obtaining her master's in Executive Business Administration, and I made sure she's not leaving Albany. It's a transient program, so she's able to do that and stay here and continue with the Lily Pad. So let's please give a big Exchange Club welcome to Cassandra Wright.
Good morning. One more time. How are y'all? I'm so pleased to be here today. I was so grateful to get the invitation a few weeks back in reference to coming and speaking about something that's very dear to my heart. As it stated, I'm the executive director for the Lily Pad Sane Center here in Albany, Georgia, and I recently came on almost a year ago now. I love my job. I love what I do. It's very fulfilling, but at the same time, it's a harsh reality. The Lily Pad came into existence in about 2006, came on as its own nonprofit. However, it was been in existence way before then. It wasn't a standalone nonprofit agency until about 2006. We serve, like you said, Dougherty County and the surrounding 32 counties. Now there are other centers in place that are our child advocacy centers. However, they come to us to do either their SANE exams or their forensic interviews and things in that capacity. So those 32 counties come all to us, or we go out to them. We have a satellite office in Bainbridge that performs, that's a child advocacy center that works with all the children that have been victims of sexual assault and or abuse, and we do all of their forensic exams. Much like your center there, we have staff. We have approximately 4 forensic interviewers on our staff who work hand in hand with any children who have reports of abuse or allegations of sexual assault. All kids that come to our agency are either referred to us by Department of Family and Children Services or law enforcement. That may mean that they had said something in school or someone called or something in that capacity. They come into our center, and our center is set up just to work with these children. They come in, we do a forensic interview, and if they disclose through that interview that they have been a victim of assault, then we do an exam to collect some type of evidence. And we keep that evidence and pass it over to law enforcement. The benefit of the forensic interview is that most often that the child does not have to be re-victimized by going back on that stand again. We videotape that forensic interview, and then that goes in place for that child in the court testimony. Is that always the case? No, it's not. Sometimes we have the attorneys who are adamant about having that child up, but just a case we had, for example, the other day, they had a young lady come in there, she couldn't do it, she broke down. It's a very emotional time. With that being said, then my forensic interviewer went up there and spoke on behalf of that child. That is a tool that you can't speak of the depths of how important it is to have that for those children. What our underneath that lily pad umbrella is the Firefly House Child Advocacy Center. Like you said, we serve between 300 to 400 children per year. Then maybe an additional for adults, 150. These children are victims of sexual assault, physical assault, or they have been witness to any of those things that have transpired in the home. We assist those children when they come into our system for the aftermath of the effects. So we refer them to counseling, we refer them to group therapy sessions, whatever that child may need in order to help him or she get better. I mean, I think for a long time that people thought that abuse only happened to young ladies or to girls, and the statistics are 1 in 4 girls will be sexually abused or molested before they turn 18. And then the other one is 1 in 6 boys. So if you hear those statistics, you know that you have to keep all children safe. It is the responsibility of adults to keep the children safe. So with that being said, prevention is key. I don't know if you know these statistics, but I wanted to share those with you. 20% of victims of sexual assault are under the age of 8 years old. 80% of sexual assault victims don't report. So with those numbers that I gave you, I told you originally it was 300 to 400 children that we see in our center. 80% of the children who get sexually assaulted do not report. So that number far exceeds 300 or 400. 90% of sexual assault children are assaulted by someone the family knows, someone that the family trusts. I pause on that because I just want you to think about that. It's for us, for the lily pad, we have gone out, and like I said, the numbers are startling, but prevention is key. So we go out into the community and we try to educate those who are involved in children's lives. We educate the teachers, we educate child development centers, principals, anyone who will give us opportunity to come to their center and talk to them about prevention, we do. I'm a facilitator as well with the Darkness of Light, and when I first went through the training, I wasn't one as a facilitator, I was just receiving the training to have a knowledge of what, how to help prevent child abuse. And I was stunned and I was startled by the statistics, and there were people on there who were survivors of child sexual abuse, and it was very heart-wrenching. But with that being said, it motivated me. It motivated me. I got right back to my center. I was like, okay, so let's see what we're going to do. What we do for the families now, when they come into our center, we help them and we guide them through all the resources that are for them within Albany, Georgia. But how do we prevent them from coming here? I hate to say, but sexual assault and abuse for women and children, it's a vicious cycle. For some reason, the statistics say if a mother has been abused, her daughter more likely than not is going to be abused. Scary. So how do we prevent that? Educate. We need to educate our families, our children, on prevention, on awareness. Teaching your children, we always teach our children, be respectful to your adults. Listen to Miss Williams or whomever. Be a good kid. But it's okay to teach your children to say no at the same time. They need to understand that their bodies are their bodies. If someone's touching you, you can say no, and always know that it's okay to come and tell mom, dad, or anyone that you trust. But as an adult, we have to know how to be ready and prepared for that when a child comes and discloses to us. You can't grab your hair and say, oh my God, you can't do that, because then they're just going to shut down and not say anything else. Open-ended questions. Tell me more. Oh, I'm sad to hear that, but what else happened? Do you want to get that child to can tell you more and more about that circumstance or what has led them to come and disclose to you, but you don't want them to ever shut down. You want them to tell you. Because the key is to get them help, to give them services. Of course, to stop the abuse immediately, but to give them services so they can heal. We want them to heal, and we want them to be productive citizens at some point in time within the community. And child sexual assault and abuse breaks a person, it breaks a child, so we have to repair that.
Studies have shown that when we go into the prison system and talk to people who are in there as, who have been arrested or charged with assault and molestation and things of that nature, 70% of those people who are serving time for being assault, people who initiate assault, were again victims themselves, 70%. So just to think if we had put things in place for those, we could have prevented some of these things from happening. What I wanted to share with you is that there were 7 steps that I have learned that we can share with, I'm going to share with y'all that can help with preventing child abuse. Step 1, learn the facts. Know what child sexual assault and abuse is. Child sexual assault and abuse is a minor child with an adult, of course, is sexual assault. If you have a minor child and there's an adult involved. Also, if there's a minor child and another minor child who forcefully force themselves onto that child, that is also considered a sexual assault/abuse. Talk about it. Don't be afraid to talk about this subject with your children. Talk about, are you okay? How are things? When I go through the Darkness to Light training, there's a man in there who I can see his face just as clear as if I seen him yesterday. He said that his father asked him if there was something going on, but he just didn't ask the right questions. Ask the right questions. Have you been touched? His dad never asked him that. He just asked him something, kind of beating around the bush a little bit. You have to be very direct. If you want to know the answer, ask the answer. Because children, you have to be direct with kids. If you want to know, you got to say, did you go outside and play at 3 o'clock? Yes, I did. It's no different with sexual assault. You have to say, were you touched? Did you feel uncomfortable? You have to be as direct as you possibly can with asking these questions to the children. Minimize the opportunity. Sorry. I'm back. Minimize the opportunity for abuse. With that being said, even with where I work at the crisis center, we have a policy where there is never one adult, one child circumstances. If you work in a place like the YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, any place that you have children being there, make sure there's a policy in place to ensure that that child is always in the presence of other children and or multiple adults. At one point in time, they used to be like, okay, there can be a man and a girl together. Those rules don't apply. It's a one adult, one child. Make sure that there's always adequate coverage for multiple adults, multiple children. That's just to safeguard yourself as well as safeguarding the children. Stay alert. Notice any changes in the child's behavior or demeanor and how they react to others, and someone that they loved being around before and they don't like being around now, ask questions why. Be direct. Ask them why. What's going on? Tell me. You can tell me. Trust me, make sure that they understand that they can tell it to you. But also make a plan. In the event that a child does disclose to you, what are you going to do next? What's the first step? What do you do? Of course, like I said, keep the open-ended questions in place. Let that child know that they can tell on you and to report it to the appropriate authorities, which is either law enforcement or the Department of Family and Children's Services. Trust your gut. If you have that feeling something's not right, something's probably not right. Trust your gut. One of the things that was shared to me recently is that a young man was attending guitar lessons, and his instructor had the private lessons at his home in the basement. Mom was like, so what, who's down here, what's going on, so on and so forth. He was like, oh yeah, we're here, but it's no big deal. She had been a Darkness to Light trainer. So what had happened is that she went ahead and confronted the man and said, no, I'm not comfortable with it. This was told to me that this is not the right thing to do. With that being said, I guess within a couple of weeks she had found that he had been grooming her son. They were watching inappropriate videos on the internet, doing things that were inappropriate. So with that, she prevented that. But that, again, was her taking the steps to trusting her gut. She didn't feel that something was right, and she acted on it. And with that, she saved her son. Getting involved. There are child advocacy centers throughout the state of Georgia. Because of budget cuts and restraints, volunteers are essential. Any time that you can afford to come out, answer the phone, help fill out paperwork, do any types of drives in regards to collecting clothing items, things of that nature. Because sometimes when children come into our center and they have to get a forensic exam, those clothes are taken away from them for evidentiary purposes. So then we have to replace, we don't want them to go out with a gown on or anything in that capacity. So we try to replace those clothing with adequate clothing, socks and underwear and things of that nature. So anytime you can get involved in that capacity, please do. It's a long time for, those are just 7 steps. Now there's not many other things that you can implement in order to prevent and keep children safe. But those are just a few that if you keep at the forefront of your mind, that you can always go back to say, well, I made a difference. The Lily Pad strives to go out in the community to enhance prevention methods, to make individuals know. Child abuse and child sexual assault was something that was not talked about. You know, no one wanted to hear about that. This is not good across the dinner table things to discuss, but it's relevant. It's very relevant and it's ongoing. So with that being said, I want each of you to make a vow or a promise to go ahead and keep your eyes open. Like I said, it is our job, every adult's job is to protect the child. With all the help that we receive and the monies that we receive from the federal and state government, with these recent cuts and budget restraints, sexual assault centers get hit hard every single year. Grant funding, you may get a grant this year and you may not get it next year, but with that grant you may have been funding 2 or 3 salaries. What do you do then? Donations from corporations and individual private donations and things such as this from the Exchange Club are greatly needed and greatly appreciated. Every dollar that comes into our center is used to assist us with assisting our clients, our victims in every way, from support groups for the adults, from support group for the young ladies, support groups for the young men. Those groups alone, just providing them with snacks, give about $12,000 a year. That's not even including the things that they need to do. I mean, we go out and we research and we try to find them things that, how do you make them more responsible? Show them, you know, outside of you may have been a victim of abuse, but you can overcome that. And we try to give them all the proper tools and things that they can have in order to see that there is something more for them. We not only deal with children with sexual assault and abuse, we have children under our CASA program that deals directly with deprivation and children who are in foster care. We have approximately 100 children right now in foster care in Dougherty County. That's just Dougherty County. That's not any of our surrounding counties. And we have about 30 advocates who volunteer their time and service to help those children. And we're the voice of those kids. We go do home visits. We go and make sure that they have everything they need. We help them with school. We meet with doctors. We meet with principals and counselors. We stay busy. We want to make sure that we help these children in every way that they possibly can. I have such a dedicated staff. Some of them are so dedicated so that they're working on Saturdays, they're working on Sundays. We're 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365-day-a-year center. So with that being said, no one just works 8 to 5. It doesn't even seem like a realistic time frame. My phone rings at 3 o'clock in the morning from the answering service. I get that call and I dispatch it, or I go into the center myself to make sure that we're in place for whoever may need us. So with that being said, I want to thank you all for all your support. I want to thank you for everything that you all have done for the Lily Pad Sane Center in reference to funding and giving us the proper support from the community so that we can go out and be the voice for the children and give them all the necessary components that they need to thrive and rebuild themselves after something such as a sexual assault. Now, with that being said, if there's any questions, I can feel free to answer them for you. Any questions from anyone? No. Okay. I'm done. If you have any questions,
I'd like to thank you for what you do with Lily Pad and the job you do in Dougherty County. And to our 4 centers, thank you, thank you, thank you. Bless you for being here, and we look forward to a long-lasting relationship with the District Foundation and our CAP Center. Wish we didn't, but it's reality, so thank you. Couple of announcements. Want to remember that Betty Lindsay has raffle tickets for the quilt, and Robin has raffle tickets for the TV, and the silent auction room is open out here. And so make your bids. We will reconvene at 9:30 in Flint River 3, which is right next door, to start our first business session.